Hi, I know this channel is usually just footage of me and my friends being really stupid in Battlefield 3, but today I would really like to talk about the new patch, and more specifically in that new patch, the changes to suppression. I mean, despite our channel and just what kind of goes on in those videos, which is just really stupid, I do like to understand the game's mechanics. I find them really rewarding, and I like to take advantage of those mechanics and exploit them because that's kind of how you become good at a game, right? And I think my stats speak for themselves because they're alright. I have a 1.6 KD, my accuracy is 20.4, I have a 559 SPM. I understand the game. It's just, the videos tend to capture the parts when we're just completely losing our shit because something crazy happens. Because, Battlefield 3 is kind of a crazy game. And I just found the infantry combat in Battlefield 3 to be generally really excellent. Like, I really, really like shooting guys in this game. The combination of recoil and spread makes a lot of sense. The attachments, while they are imbalanced, a lot of the guns, a lot of the attachments, certain combinations equal more powerful guns that simply outclassed some other guns, just straight up. But, when it came just down to the combat of guys shooting guys, I just found it to make perfect sense. Like, I just found the combination of suppression and just the combination of moving out, going prone, just all these mechanics just seem to blend together in a really, really fun and really exciting experience. So I found these patch notes to be really, really exciting. And the part I really liked was how it said it would increase the effect that suppression has on the player. In my mind, I was like, this is great. I think this is gonna kind of change up the dynamics a lot. But oh my god, a lot was a huge understatement. That is a lot of understating. I went into an unranked server of a friend, I told him to suppress me, and then 20 meters from him, I could not land a headshot with a zoomed in 8x sniper rifle. It was crazy. That's when it really hit me, when I knew suppression was going to be very, very impactful. I've always considered suppression to be like an underlying subtle factor in determining firefights, but now it is the factor that will affect firefights. And I don't think just complaining about that change in the mechanics is going to help you play any better at the moment. Right now, for the next 3 months or so probably, until they will probably nerf the thing like crazy, this is the game. Adapt or die. And once I've understood how to exploit the mechanic from my ungood and to do everything I can to prevent being exploited by the other player, it's kind of resulted in a much more interesting game currently. Interesting mostly because I'm just playing differently. I'm repositioning far more often. I'm laying down fire way, way more often. I'm taking out my pistol much more often. I'm trying my best to understand the mechanic and to take advantage of it. Suppression is a very, very powerful mechanic right now. You can really control a player or even players. And that is pretty interesting. It gives you options. It will get people to get down. And in those 3 to 5 seconds, you have the option to keep on firing. You have the option to find a better position. You have the option to find some ammo, health. You have the option to throw a grenade. In these 5 seconds, you have a dozen things you could do. And now even more so. That said, the counter argument could be, despite all the guns being changed and being rebalanced, what's the point when both of you are suppressed, right? Think of an example. Let's say you find the guy 20 meters from you. You both fire at each other. You both manage to suppress each other to the maximum limit. At that point, it doesn't matter if your gun has a higher rate of fire. It doesn't matter if your gun has better accuracy. It doesn't matter if your gun doesn't have a lot of recoil, because at that point, suppression is determining who will win that firefight. It is determining who's gonna live and who's gonna die. It kind of just comes down to luck at that point. And I agree, but the counter argument to that would be you should find a better position. Because he is so suppressed, he will not be able to kill you if you try to run away. Maybe you should try taking out your pistol. Maybe you should try finding some cover. Maybe you should just find a better position. And I think the suppression has put a greater emphasis on different skill sets. It has placed an emphasis on just movement and positioning, because just firing at a guy when you're suppressed is not going to do it anymore. But then the counter to that would be not all maps give you those kind of movement options. You know, like the back to Karkin maps, sure, great. You know, in conquest mode for Caspian and Firestorm, Karg Island, the canals, you know, definitely this mechanic makes a lot of sense. But take it into like Dam Van Peak, take it into Metro, take it into a very cramped space, you know, take it into like a team deathmatch arena, then all of a sudden it kind of falls apart. And this is probably the main reason why I would agree with nerfing the suppression, you know, a little above pre-patch levels to the point where there is a greater perceived effect that your suppression is actually doing something. Because I cannot, for the life of me, imagine how the Close Quarters DLC will play out in any fun, meaningful way with everybody just being so in your face and nobody hitting anybody. I cannot imagine this DLC making any sense with the mechanics we have now. I think it works great in Conquest, it might work great in Rush, in Team Deathmatch. It's really wishy-washy. It's really dependent on the map, and that's like the problem. With this central mechanic, it makes sense in some modes and some maps, but completely breaks down in others. DICE needs to come up with a compromise that makes sense across all modes. Even if that means diluting the more interesting experience that this suppression effect can have on the bigger maps that offer more options, offer more flanks, offer more ways for you to engage. But this is going to be the state of the game for the next 3 to 4 months until DICE releases the DLC and the patch that probably follows with it. Unless they stop patching altogether, then yes, we can all bitch in harmony, add some baritone moans in there, some falsetto whining, you know, it'll be fantastic. We'll make a musical out of it. It'll hit Broadway, Tony Awards, Bitch and Moan will be platinum, titanium, diamond status. It'll create a new label for when things sell really, really, really cash. So I guess my overall impressions of suppression lean a little towards positive, but I'm still pretty mixed on it because it just doesn't really make too much sense on some modes and on some maps. But whatever the case, you're just going to have to live with it, man. And then I'll probably make another video on how the tank stuff has changed. I don't really have an opinion either way because I haven't been in a tank for a bit since the patch came out. I've mostly just been gunning guys down. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna hit the stop button now. Stopping.
Yeah, just welding something together. It's broken. Right, let me see if an RPG can